Great. So, hi everyone. This is a live about Unbound's release day, which is today. And I'm joined by Sarah, who is one of my best friends, and she's also got an amazing story in this anthology, which I co-edited the anthology with Emily Collin.
She's so good.
Sarah is one of the designers too for this anthology. So just look how gorgeous that cover is. It's just amazing. And yeah, the interior design and formatting is so amazing and gorgeous.
I'm pulling my bookmark out so it doesn't fall out. I've been rereading the stories because they're that good.
Yeah, so I haven't actually got my copy yet. So I'm holding up this invisible book in front of me, but Sarah's got her. So yeah. Yes. Can you just show the spine? Because the spine is
yes. We mentioned everybody's names, even the longest ones. It's totally just a designer thing, but I'm very proud that it managed to work out. Also, yes, look how thick this book is. It's 550 pages. 550. And the hardcover is 530, but going to be the same width. It's going to be amazing. Nice, big, chunky book.
Yeah, I was so excited to see the hardcover up on Amazon this morning. I don't know, did that come up yesterday or the day before? I don't know if I missed messages or something.
Sometime during the weekend. We approved it on Friday, and then we just waited, and it's up. But the thing is that because it's COVID times, things are going to take a while to print, sadly. Yeah. I ordered my own copy. They're supposed to be here first week of March. And I think anyone else who orders it through Amazon should also be seeing it around those times. Hopefully. Paperback is available right away, though. It will print within 1 to 2 days, according to Amazon. I checked this morning. So if you order it now, you'll get it this week.
Yeah, and it's just such an amazing collection. I know I'm really biased being one of the co-editors, and I've also got a story in there myself. But I love editing the stories because Emily and I divided the stories between us. We edited half, and then we also had input on each other's as well. And yeah, I love the variety of the stories. There's some really dark stuff in there, but then you've also got these lighter, more humorous stories, especially yours, Sarah. Yours was just such a delight to edit.
Oh, thank you.
And it was just so fun. Yeah, do you want to tell people a bit about your story?
Okay, my story specifically is where to start? Mummy is making a mess in the break room. So these two girls are working late on a research project for high school when a mummy, a 5,000-year-old mummy, comes to life and starts chasing them through the museum. And so, of course, you're put in charge of this museum. You don't really want the mummy ruining everything. Insurance is going to be whoop. So they are trying to solve the mystery of this mummy's curse, all while being chased by said mummy through a museum. And she's got some wacky powers, taking over the security guards. So it's not an easy night for them. And it was just a delight to write. And I've been amazing working with Madeline, making sure that everything actually works. Because it was one of those things that, COVID brain, I didn't know I could do it. And then just a funny story managed to come out somehow. And that's how I feel about this book, that every story, everyone's got their own story behind their story and how they came to be in this anthology. And it all just wove together to be this real labor of love. Everybody who put a story or any kind of work into this book did it out of love. We're not doing any profit off this book. Even the paperbacks, we've priced it so that you only pay for the printing and whatever shipping in your country. And so all it is just the love of writing, the love of writers, and the love of readers. And it all came together. And now we have a book baby. Hold on, camera's reversed.
Yeah, it's such a gorgeous book as well. It's really a work of art, and it's just so beautiful, and I can't wait to have my own copy in my hands.
I hope you get it really soon. It can get any day. And your story, it is intense. It's also the longest story in here. It could be a full book on its own right. It is so good. How did you come up with your story?
Recently I've mainly been writing sort of young adult thrillers and sci-fi. So I was I want to do something a bit different, something just to keep me interested. So I was right, I'm going to write a fantasy story. And I've written fantasy before, so I was quite confident going in. But then I got really stuck. I mean, I was looking through Wikipedia because that's just an amazing source of inspiration, obviously. You can just fall down so many rabbit holes. And I got onto sort of Greek mythology, and I was looking at sort of mythology around Medusa. And I love this idea of female empowerment, but also how with her story, it's very much sort of these men trying to control her, these men are like using her head and like because they sever her head off and just like carry her skull around, using it as a weapon for themselves. So I was like really interested in that, and I thought, like, how could I sort of like infuse that into sort of a modern day fantasy? And it's like, yeah, my story's called Inside the Night, and
let me pull it up because it's pretty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it's about this about this girl called Ali, and her village, who actually lives in Devon in England. Everyone in it has started to turn to stone at night time, and there's this mysterious power in the sky, and everyone in the village is turning to stone, and this is gradually spreading out across more villages until like pretty much the whole of England. The majority of its citizens have been turned to these stone statues, and it's a story about Ali as she's trying to like save everyone. She's trying to work out what exactly is happening, but she's also uncovering secrets about herself as well. And it's a story of revenge. Like, revenge is very much at the heart of the story, but it's also a story about sisterhood and like the power of female friendship and sisters. So it's got so much in it, and like the main character
really does.
Chronically ill and asexual as well, so its own voices for both of those. So yeah, it ended up being such a fun story to write, but it got so dark. And I remember when I was writing it, because like I messaged you at one point, Sarah, didn't I, saying how dark can I go with this story? Because like
yes, I remember that. Oh my god.
Yeah, because like I was really worried that I was going too dark, and at that point we were all still writing, so I hadn't read any of the other stories, and I was like, am I going way too dark? What's the tone like with the other stories in this anthology? But then it turns out it does work really well, because there are some other like really dark stories, and there's some that are lighter. And I think we've got a really good balance, because like yours is quite like humorous, it's got this comedy angle to it, but it's still got like quite serious messages underneath about love. So I think like overall the balance works really well across all the stories. And like that was one thing I was talking to Emily, my co-editor, about, because we had to make sure sort of the anthology worked as a cohesive whole as well, that it wasn't just sort of like an amalgamation of stories that didn't really fit together. So yeah, and like ordering these stories in the anthology was so fun. So
yeah, and it turned out great reading them in order, because I was reading bits and pieces as they were coming in, but finally sitting down and reading them in order, it feels so cohesive. There's such a good flow to it. You get really high emotional highs, then things are calm, and then things get really high again. It just really works well. All the stories they hold hands together. They make this cute little chain. Well, cute, dark chain in some places.
I think when we were ordering these stories, because I was talking to Emily quite a lot about that, and I knew straight away, I was like, we have to start with Heidi's story, because Heidi has written this amazing young adult thriller story about a girl and the disappearance of her best friend, and it's all about the secrets. And her writing is so beautiful. And like, as soon as I read about submission, like when we were at the early stages, I was like, we have to include this, and I have to be the editor for this, because I just got so excited by the story. So yeah, when Emily and I were dividing the stories between us, we were like volunteering like which stories we wanted to edit ourselves, because like Emily read some of them I still haven't read at this point, so she took on those ones, I took on the others, and then we swapped each other's as well. So yeah, like I haven't actually like read, I think there's 2 of the stories in it that I haven't yet read, so I'm really looking forward to like reading it as like a finished product, like you were saying, because it does give a very different experience reading it once it's all perfect and polished and wonderful.
Definitely makes a difference. When I was formatting the book, I kept like getting distracted and like reading a paragraph and going like, no, I'm supposed to be working. No. And I had to like shut my brain down to not actually read these stories, because they were really gripping. Heidi's, I would like start reading 2 pages starting in the middle of the story, and I'd be like, no, it doesn't make any sense. One story I completely misjudged. It was, which one was it? I think it was the third one. Angela's story, Jolly Fats Dies Tonight. I thought it had something to do with murdering Santa Claus with a violin.
Wow. Oh, I need to read that one. Yeah, it's that one that I haven't read yet, and John's one. I think those are the only 2 that I haven't read, because like I didn't have any of the editorial input on either of those stories, whereas all the others I did. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this because I keep hearing so many amazing things about Angela's and John's. So
Yeah, they're both so different and both so great. That's what I love these stories, because each of them, if you had just gotten this short story to read just that short story, you're going to love it. It's great. You don't need to read the whole anthology to like love these. These are just little pastries. You go to a shop and you eat them one at a time. But all together, it is a buffet. It's so good. I love the fact also that you insisted, or we insisted, I guess, as a group, that all these stories manage to stand alone on their own, and that you don't have to read any of the other authors' other works to understand what's happening in these stories. And it worked out great because I've fallen in love with the writing of some of these authors, and I'm definitely going to go pick up their books now because I know how they write, and it's amazing.
Yeah, like that was a really important decision, like editorially, that we made. It was really early on in the process, wasn't it, when we decided that all the stories absolutely had to be standalones. Because yeah, we like every story in this anthology is young adult, and it's just such a fun anthology because like you can just like dive into it, you can read it all like start to finish, you can just pick out stories and like dip into it as you want to. But yeah, because each of the authors has their own very unique sort of like narrative style with the writing, it really does entice you to read their other stuff. Because Emily's story in it is set in the world of her Seven Sins series.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
And yeah, that was so exciting because I was asked to blurb the second book in that series recently, and before this anthology, I hadn't read any of the work set in that world for her. So I came to that short story first, and it just sucked me right into the world straight away. And then when I finished that and I was editing the story with her, doing like the developmental edits, line edits, and copy edits, and then after that she was like, yeah, do you want to read book 2 in the series as well? And of course I had to read book 1 as well. And now that is just like one of my favorite dystopian series. And I'm teaching a dystopian writing class later this year as well. And that I've actually put that onto the reading list because yeah, her whole world is just amazing. And I do like it when you've got like standalone short stories set in a world and it just gives you an extra starting point. But yeah, like, wow, the short story that I wrote, I kind of want to write a longer piece set in that same world.
Do it. It's so good.
So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Emily's story, like, wow, she is a master. She's a masterclass writer. And so are all of these writers. But with Emily's story, even her books, it's set in the Commonwealth, in her Seven Sin universe. They are heart-pulling, beautifully written, intense books. And you're lucky to be reading her second book. I haven't read it yet, and I'm just like,
it is
I haven't read it yet. I'm so excited.
I think I like the second one more than the first one, and you know how much I love the first one because I was just like in our group chat when I was reading it. I was just like, I finished this, Emily. I need the second one now. But yeah, it's so good, especially with like the twists and it's amazing. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's so good.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. And like one thing I love about the anthology as well, because we've got there's a narrative poem in it as well, isn't there? So oh yeah.
Hello. We start off strong. Wait, which direction am I going? Yep, that was the right way. There we go.
That's the right way. Yeah, there we go.
It's
amazing narrative poem, and I love poetry because I also write poetry as well. So like including a poem and the narrative poem as well. So it does tell its own story, and there's so much characterization, so much beautiful imagery in that one poem. And it really introduces you to the different themes of the anthology, and it's a great lead-in for like the other pieces that we've got in it. And I'm so glad that we were able to include sort of like different forms of writing as well, because that's one of my favorite things. And like I know like I'm always trying to be really experimental with my own writing. So and with my story, part of it is told through sort of like mixed media because I've got like all the newspaper reports in my
newspaper clips.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different stuff going on in this anthology. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So there's like a few of those throughout my story that sort of like help to give extra contextual information. And yeah, just seeing the breadth of the different sort of like forms that the writers are using throughout the whole anthology, it's so great because like even the structures, we're all using different structures as well. So it makes it's a real delight to read because we've got some stories have chapters, some of them don't. We've got one that I think is divided into 3 or 4 parts.
Yep.
Like your story, Sarah, it doesn't have any chapters in, does it?
No, there's a single break. The rest is just a full story.
Yeah.
And Jones has perspective twists or swaps, sorry. And yeah, I mean, and I think Lisa's as well is no chapters, only breaks.
Mm-hmm.
But it really, there's just so many. That was as a formatter, it was kind of crazy. Like, how do I make like the non-chapters and the chapter ones work? How do I do it with the subtitle in some and not on others? That was, but it worked out great in the end. But it is amazing because despite the fact that they all are so different stories, different genres, I mean, all tied by YA, but they really are different genres, completely different tone, but they all feel so cohesive. Yeah. Even the poem feels like it was written for this anthology. Like, it really welcomes you into the book in such a beautiful way. And having read this in order, it just really feels like this is the best place to start because it really says, hey, welcome to the anthology. Sit down. You're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and like it's all everything in it has got so many layers, and like you can take a surface meaning from pretty much any of the story. I mean, you can also delve deeper, and that is one of my favorite things about it. And it's like it almost depends what the reader is looking for in the stories, because like every reader is pretty much going to take away a different perspective. And I really, really love that. And of course, we've got like, well, the main theme of the anthology is transformation. So all the stories, like everything in it does revolve around transformation in some way. But we left it quite open-ended when we sort of like invited our authors to participate in this anthology. So it could be any sort of interpretation on transformation. And I think that makes it really creative as well, without it feeling a bit too much like a mismatch of things. It's very much sort of bound together, to use the word bound. But yeah, I'm so excited by this project, like unbelievably excited. And we've got it in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And that's just so exciting in itself as well.
Designing the hardcover was so much fun. There's a little surprise under the jacket, and I can't wait for everyone to see it because we haven't shown anyone yet what that looks like. So it's going to be a big surprise for whoever orders the hardcover. It's exciting. And it really, yes, as you said, everybody put so much into this book. It oozes love. It is just like, this is a brick of pure love right here. You can feel like
made it, isn't it? Because like wow, how did the idea for the anthology come about originally? Because it was to do with the lockdown, wasn't it? The first of the pandemic.
So back in March or April, we were all just like losing our minds, being locked down. And we were joking about the new genres that would emerge from lockdown writing.
Yeah.
And we kind of thought, are you guys going to write any short stories about being locked down? And I had this like surrealist idea. I was going to write this story about a pandemic where people were turning to trees. And it was going to be like a surrealist comedy where people are just so blasé about the fact that they've got like branches growing out of their cheeks. And it's like, girl, put on a mask. But that was it was a little too, I don't know, it wasn't subtle enough. I don't think. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to write that. But together we are all like, hey, we could write something and then put it together. And we're like, yeah, actually that makes a lot of sense. Because that way we knew that we would all do it. We'd stick to this commitment. Because if not, we could just say like, I'm going to write this story. And then once again, it'll sit in our idea basket for 5 years and then never anything would come out of it.
Yeah, so like the accountability was really great for like actually keeping us being creative and keeping us writing, because it was really hard to write in that, especially in that first lockdown.
Oh my gosh, my brain was uncertain. It was awful.
Yeah, like writing the story, I know it gave me like quite a bit of structure. And obviously when I was editing as well, I was like talking with Emily a lot, and like we're kind of holding each other accountable at different times. So it was just like really useful to still feel productive. And yeah, that was kind of like the main motivation really for putting out this anthology. Because like we've got like this sort of like beautiful anthology coming out of quite a dark time of the pandemic. So yeah,
we knew we needed this structure and these stories to keep ourselves sane, and we thought, people might actually use it as well to feel sane and grounded and a little more bound, I guess, in their own lives by reading it. So it's us taking all this experience we had and sharing it with everyone else and saying, here, this helped us get through a hard time. I hope it helps you get through a hard time.
Yeah, Yeah, that is like that's what really motivated us to do this. And it's definitely a project of love, like you were saying, because we're not making any profit from this anthology. Like, we kind of just want to share it.
Take it. Take what we made. Enjoy it, please.
Yeah. So is it on all the different ebook platforms at the moment? I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah, some of them are a little wonky. I know for sure it's on Barnes and Noble. I found it on Vivalo. I didn't even know that was a platform that existed, but in France, it's free on this random French platform. So that's good. It should be up on iBooks. It was, but I couldn't see it this morning, but it's possible that I just wasn't looking hard enough. There's a few other books called Unbound. None of them are called Unbound Stories. So if you're looking up these websites, type in Unbound Stories and it'll pop right up.
Yeah.
That's a little secret. Yeah. And I got to say as well, going back to all the things that doing this anthology has brought to us, I had to learn to use some pretty wacky software that I didn't think I would have to. I thought I knew things. Many things I knew were brought into question. And learning how to do these things with the obligation of if you don't do it, it's not happening was really good motivation. And really, it gave me a reason to get up in the morning. It gave me a reason to power through. And many things I thought I couldn't do, I learned that I could. And that just feels great during a pandemic when you feel so isolated. And yeah, as we said, it was hard to write these stories in the first place because of all the stuff going on in your brain. But every step of this book gave me that little serotonin release that I needed. As hard as it was. Sometimes I wanted to like chuck my computer against the wall and be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have one of those moments. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing with this? Like, how can we actually do this? But yeah, like producing an anthology, because we haven't said about 5 Points Press, have we?
Oh right. Who are we? We are 5 Points Press. We are some weirdos who like each other on the internet.
So 5 Points Press is myself, Sarah, Emily, Lisa, and Heidi. And between the 5 of us, we have produced this book. Like, we've done all the costs ourselves. We invited authors that we knew and admired to submit the work to us, and we selected our favourite stories. We are the ones behind this book for 5 of us. So, and like producing an anthology with my best friends has been amazing. It's just like such an awesome experience, and it's really gelled us together more, I think. So it's so much fun.
There were some moments where I was just like, why am I doing it with these people? Could it harm our friendship forever? Sometimes we had some creative differences and we didn't think it would ever come together. And then it did.
Yeah.
It taught us a lot. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. All this amazing communication and love between us. I mean, we pulled through and we love each other more, I think. We're more impressed with each other's skills at the end of this project. And I'm in awe of every single one of you. Like, you are all amazing women, and I can't believe I get to be in this adventure with you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just been such a fun process, really. And I'm just so excited because it's like, it just feels amazing and like the start of something really special, like having this on podcast. And I know we're talking about different events that we're doing as well, and like different things that we can do. So like, I know Emily's done quite a few like radio interviews, and then there's an event next Monday, I think, that who's doing the event next Monday? There's something.
Faye is doing something. There's a Romancing the Goth.
Yeah, yes, that's it. Yes, I'm involved in that as well, actually. And I think John is, and
I might be. I don't know like where we landed on that. I think I was taking a slot if no one else could make it, but I think Kay can make it, so she's got priority. And they. I
think it needs 4 of us, and it's 10 a.m. UK time. Because like that's the other thing, like with the time zones, because like we're all across the world, so trying to like, figure different things out. Because I'm in the UK, you're in France. Like Emily and Lisa are in the US.
Heidi's in Colombia.
Yeah, so
but surprisingly close time zone wise to Emily and Lisa, so they work out.
Yeah, so
and the 2 of us are close, so it works out okay. We're in these 2 separate blocks, really, but it's inconvenient for these kinds of events.
Yeah, so just like trying to make sure that enough of us are available for these different events and like talking about it. And it's just so much fun.
Right? Oh my gosh, I just want to publish more books with you guys. I mean, we did it. We did it. Let's do another one.
Up now as 5 Points Press, so who knows what else we can take on.
We take a little break and then we get right back on that horse.
So, yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to say on this live?
Well, books come out today. Make sure to get your copy. If it's not free on Amazon, just hop on another platform until it is. It should be free. We're just waiting for the Amazon wizards to do their magic. They said on Friday that it was going to update, but it hasn't. So we've been like poking them as politely as possible. Like, hey. Yeah, so that was not something I wanted to wake up to this morning, seeing that it wasn't free. No! But it will be.
They should change it over pretty soon today, because
I hope so.
I think it was something to do with a pre-order, that you can actually have an ebook set as free for a pre-order. But yeah, it's so exciting, and
it really is. It's out. It's out. We are going to have an event for everybody to come chat with us. I think next Sunday. Is that what we decided on?
I think so. Yeah, I think we went for next Sunday for that.
I will be making some little invites so that people can feel properly invited, but everyone's invited. We'll put, I think, a Zoom link up for everybody to join us, and then you'll be able to like ask us any questions you have. You'll have time to read the book by then.
Yeah.
Read faster. At least you'll have a few stories done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Why am I petting this book? I've become a creepy book lady.
It is such a nice book though. Like, it's honestly one of the most gorgeous books I've ever seen. And I mean, I haven't actually seen it in person yet. I just keep like, well, I keep getting you to take photos for me to put on my Instagram, don't I?
Yeah. But it's worth taking pictures of. That's the thing though. I'm really worried of breaking the spine because it's so big. So taking the pictures is me like balancing, like trying to keep it open, but it keeps like flipping. Wait, where's the camera? There we go. I'll like have it open and then it just flips closed on me. And I'm like, no.
So yeah, Lisa has just messaged me saying that she's going to join us on this live.
Awesome. Yay.
Right. I don't know if she's just doing audio. I don't know what time it is in the US right now, because like it's just gone midday here. So I'm guessing
it is 7:19 a.m. in her time zone.
Okay, right.
She is the author of the story Oceans of Dust, which is set in the same world that she is writing a book in right now, which will hopefully be done soon. She's very excited about it. Don't know if she'll be talking about that here today, but it is awesome because Pirate Queens, I mean, you can't get any better than that. Yeah, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I love her story so much, and it's just like, it's really breathtaking as well. Like the writing, I mean, all the writing for all these stories is some really beautiful language, and it's just such a delight. Like editing it, reading it, working on it, because it's just such a beautiful book in all aspects, which is just really, really great. And of course, Lisa is your co-designer, Sarah, as well.
Yes, Lisa and I worked tirelessly. Lisa is a professional graphic designer. She knows her stuff. And I learned a lot working with her through trial and error, because I was like, this is good. And she's like, it's a few pixels off. And she could see that immediately. And I'm just like, oh, no. But it worked. And we pulled this together. And wait, there we go. You can see my finger marks. I'm terrible. And yeah, she did the design of the paperback. You'll see it's even cooler now because we have actual blurbs on the back, which is really exciting. And she also did the hardcover, though I did the hard case. It really was a full collaboration. Like, oh, and I would love to show everyone all the covers we went through before we settled on this one. We did something like 50, I'm not kidding, 50 different variations.
There were so many, because I remember like the group chat was just being like filled up with photos of all these different covers at some point, and I was just like, wow, which one are we going for?
And then we like decided on one, and then I started over because it's like, no, it's good, but no. So I just scrapped everything and started over with a cover that was similar to this, but a little more, little flat, a little more like the Hazelwood covers. And then this happened. And still not sure how, but it did.
Sort of the symbolism of the cover, because there's like all these different symbols on it that relate to like individual stories, and like, yeah, because you matched it up with like the different icons in the stories as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we've got the skeletal hand. Hold on, there we go. Sorry, I keep getting that. The snake is your story, actually. That's one that we really wanted to have. The skull could be any kind, many. Why do I keep there? There we go. The skull could be quite a few stories have to do with the theme of death and rebirth from death and all the things that happen after death. Hello, mummies. So that's in here. Skeletal hand, I mostly think that's more of a mummy thing, but also with the symbolism of death and death lending some life. And that is a very big theme in the story. There actually is a story that centers entirely on a sentient garden, which is probably why the flowers really tie everything together. The key itself could be many stories. Oh, and I didn't even mention, inside the stories, each story itself has its own icon. Everyone's got their own little artwork. And that was fun to put together because some of them were less obvious than others. Like mine was pretty simple. Mine was, hello, it's a scarab beetle. We got scarabs in the story, so we got scarabs in the thing. But then some were a little harder. Can't think of which one was the hardest. I'm not going to spoil all of them.
Did you show us Rishi's story then? Rishi Mohan's.
Oh, yes. Rishi has the crown. Yes. Invisible demons.
Yeah, because that's a story about like angels and demons and like nature versus nurture and your identity. And I love the narrator in that story. It's just amazing.
Oh, it's so gripping. Like I read the prologue. I couldn't stop reading the prologue while I was formatting. I really was stuck reading it, like scotched to my screen, right? One of the stories has a title which I feel like really could be the title of this entire anthology of Nothing Begins Until You Grow.
Yes.
And I feel like that really it's a beautiful title. Like that is such a beautiful title. And it's so exactly what our anthology is about, transformation and all the growth that we all went through. Like it was a challenging trial by fire period, this whole lockdown.
Yeah.
Dealing with isolation and all the crazy things that were connected to it. The fear, the uncertainty, the unsettled political atmosphere. We've been terrified and forced to change. And I think, I can't even finish my sentence. Just, this is what the anthology grew out of. It grew out of the ashes of who we once were.
And I think that's like a really good point as well, because like another of the themes that we've got in the anthology is monsters. And seeing how the different authors interpreted this theme was really interesting because like we've got some quite gothic monsters in it, like thinking of Fiona's story. But then some of them are stories where it's like the monster is within and the monster is sort of like the capability of mankind and like human nature. And obviously the pandemic just brings out so many different sides of people that you might not have realized were there. So yeah, it's just, I love the flexibility of it and how it really speaks to you as well, like in so many different ways. And I think that's a really cool thing. And obviously I really like dark stories as well. So monsters and stories are just fabulous.
You are so good at writing dark stories.
Oh,
you and Heidi, and I mean Emily too, her story's dark in a different way, but you and Heidi's thrillers are just chilling masters of the atmosphere. Heidi's book, you start off, I really feel like using the image of the sunrise, which because everyone wants to go see the sunrise in the story, but the whole story is so cold and chilling despite the sunrise. I feel like it's too much of a contrast at some point. I only wanted to put darkness, but
yeah, like when I was reading Heidi's story, because I was reading it several times when I was working on the edits, but I remember the very first time I read it and I wasn't thinking about it editorially then, I just got like proper chills reading it. I was just like, I couldn't read fast enough and it was just gripping.
And yours too is like that, I should say, because it is so gripping with the mystery and just, it's good to feel some chills from time to time. Definitely. And I think it's really smart of you putting the sentient garden story, the Nothing Begins Until You Grow, right after that story. Because you've gone through the cold and now you're going to have a warm hug from a garden.
Yeah, see, that was kind of like important because we don't want to sort of like overpower readers and like overwhelm them completely. Because I think if we put all the really chilling dark stories together, it kind of almost might have been too much. And we had to sort of like get this balance right. And I guess it's kind of the same thing when you're writing a novel because you don't want like high tension scenes after high tension after high tension. You've got to give a reader a little bit of a breather, a bit of a chance to like explore something else. So like I loved ordering the stories in this anthology, and I was quite sort of like picky as well, because I remember saying to Emily, we have to start with Heidi's story. Definitely that one needs to be the first one, because like after the poem as well, because like the poem then going into Heidi's story and then one after that, it gives almost like a little preview of what the whole anthology will be like with the different themes, the tones, the atmosphere as well. So yeah, I was really picky about that.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, bravo, pacing. It's hard enough to pace your own novel, but pacing the flow of stories that you haven't written and that you have no real control over. You can't say, okay, we need more tension at like 150 pages. Can you randomly throw an extra monster into your story? You can't do that. You've got it's a puzzle that has to be put together in just the right order. And I love how you picked it. It really, reading them all together feels so cohesive and just, oh, how did this one happen? How is it so perfect? Why do I keep staring at it?
Wait till I get my copy. I'm just going to be like carrying it around with me wherever I go. Like anytime I see someone like socially distanced across the road, I'll be holding up the anthology.
We should like just stick it to our heads and be like, hey, everybody, this is our book.
It's so beautiful.
Yes, it's so pretty. Will Lisa be able to join us then?
I don't know. She hasn't actually messaged anymore. Like she said, like 10 minutes ago, but she'll be here in a minute. But
okay,
I don't know what's happening. So
mysterious.
Yeah.
Well, we can find things to chat about. This book is an unending beauty. So
it looks so much better than I thought it was going to. And like I had really high expectations anyway, because like obviously you've designed my other book covers as well, for my hardcover editions of the Untamed series. So I was like, this book is going to be amazing with Sarah and Lisa designing it, because like I've seen Lisa's work as well, and it's just like breathtaking. And I'm so happy that you're just like part of this team.
Yeah, me too. I really wish that Lisa could like work on all my covers with me now after having worked with her, despite the very sharp, you got to do this, you got to do that, working with her, because she has her teacher side comes out, and I'm the age of her students. So of course she's going to come out as a teacher, but still, I still would want her to work on covers with me. I'm wondering like what the next things I work on will look like now that I've had so much of her teaching, basically. She says I should go in and get a degree, and I'm like, I would love that, but when will I find the time?
Yeah, because like your works were like in astrophysics and stuff like that, so it's very different. Like you're so versatile. It amazes me every single time.
Thank you. I'm really lucky that I get to work with comets and also write stories about crazy space things happening. It stops me from blurting out maybe the comet is an alien at work, so long as I can write these stories on the side.
Yeah, like writing is just it's such a great thing, just like for like mental health as well, and like well-being. Just getting that balance, like yeah, I love writing. Like,
me too.
I talk all day about the benefits of writing, but I probably shouldn't do that right now when we're specifically talking about Unbound, because it's the release day and it's all very exciting.
Party!
Yeah.
I should be drinking champagne, but I'm keeping it for this evening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah. When you're in lockdown and you have to drink alone, you pick your moments so you don't get a little too extreme. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm starting to worry now that I like writing fiction so much that when it's time for me to actually write my thesis, it's going to go completely off the rails.
Right.
Yeah. No, if I'm going to have my comments are going to be doing some wacky and wild things, I think.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I always wonder how sort of like you balance the sort of like very scientific side of you with like the creative side, because I know like when I've tried to do like really sciencey stuff, I've just got like really bogged down with all the details of it.
Well, I feel like it's like, you know how dolphins don't rest their entire brain at once, they always do half and half. Well, for me, it really does feel like physically using a separate part of my brain. So I can rest my creative side when I'm working fully analytical and then just swap it out. So when I'm designing or writing, I'm just totally in this Zen flow. When with science, I'm just like, what the heck is happening here? Why is my code not running? And it really is therapeutic. As you said earlier, writing really helps you get this out, get everything you need out, and enjoy some things you might not be able to explore otherwise, answer some questions. And that's stuff that I'm not able to do with science because it's very structured and very, you know, you got to do this to get this kind of result. And you got to, when you have to be creative, it's about coming up with workarounds for things that aren't working or a different approach. And I feel like because I'm kind of I'm not muscling, that's translating directly from French, I'm strengthening these separate parts of the brain. When I do need to call on them, when I'm working on other project, they're there. They can come and help out. Gives me a different point of view. But it is exhausting. It is exhausting.
Yeah, like, being able to compartmentalize like that sounds just like amazing, but it does sound a lot of work. And I'm always in awe of just how much you always seem to have going on. Because like I write and edit full time, so I'm just like surrounded by books all the time. And I don't know, because like you have so many books releasing all the time, and it just feels like you're like a full-time writer with the workload that you have. But then you're also doing all this amazing science stuff, and like with research papers, I'm just like in awe of it all.
Meanwhile, I'm in awe of you being like, oh, I've got this new idea for a story, and then a week later, you're like, I'm done. It's one of the best things I've written, and I'm just like, it really is. How do you have the brain power to be able to write an entire story, to conceive and pull it all together? Meanwhile, I need to work on like completely different things in order. Oh, Lisa's here! Hey, happy book birthday!
Happy! I'm not awake yet. Hey, why do I only see like half of my face? What's going on?
I think we need to sort of like move, more to the side.
The way that this automatically cuts our cameras is strange.
I'm like sitting sideways. Wait a minute. I can move my camera. That'll help. Wait, the camera is working here.
Good morning in New York.
Is it? I don't know.
You had your coffee?
I got my coffee. I mean, it's a good thing I'm not like with you in person because you'd smell my breath. I'm like, hello.
Well, you wouldn't want mine either. I just had garlic for lunch.
Oh, no. Well, I'm not going to explain why you wouldn't want mine. I mean, good morning here. I'm just going to hide behind this cup.
Okay, just stare at the beauty of the book that just came out today.
Come on. Hi, book.
You designed this.
What did you? Hi, pretty book. It also works as a weapon.
Yes, it's quite heavy.
Well, the hardcover will be very.
It will be.
Yeah, you could definitely. Yeah.
I'm so excited to see the hardcover.
Yes.
Me too. I can't wait. I'm really nervous. I want to make sure that it all turned out right.
Who's watching
it? Making it available for everyone after the release date is that someone else might get their copy before I do and be like, nothing's printed.
Well, I know you said on Facebook. I actually, when I went to order it on Amazon, it wasn't there. So I went and I did order it on Ingram, and it said it was going to take 20 days or something. And then I think I ordered a copy on Amazon, but I definitely ordered a paperback. I can't remember. I ordered 2 paperbacks, or I don't know. But it said something about the shipping date was pretty quick. It didn't say March. It said, not March. I could look it up. I don't remember. Where is this being seen? Who's watching this?
Oh, so this is being broadcast to my YouTube channel. So yeah, we've just been like chatting about the book and all different like things to do with designing it and editing it. So you look really shocked now.
Are people looking at us? Hi, people.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's watching live. It's not actually telling me.
Good. I look like ghosts walked in here, and I don't know why. The color of my broadcast. Wait, maybe it's this.
Your hair swoop is glorious, though.
Oh, it's a morning hair swoop. It's
perfect.
I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm like have a hair swoop.
I haven't got makeup on.
You put on earrings.
I threw a lot of makeup on because I've got COVID acne, so maskne. So I'm covering up that maskne.
What, really? Did that? You still have crap from that?
Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. I just have morning hair, an old person face.
Stop.
It
I got
requires,
baby face.
you have baby face. I has old face. Usually, actually, I have pretty good skin. You know, I don't
Yeah,
really have a lot to do with it. It just has a tendency to be kind of wanting to move downward. You know, it's very lovely. I have people ask me, you know, like friends who are non-artists, like, did you draw that? Like, and I think they mean, did I draw like the whole thing, like the words too? Like they really understand. I'm like, no, draw that. Didn't draw any of it, to be honest. And I don't know. I don't even remember what I said. I said, no, we just put all the items together in a creative way, which people don't understand is actually a thing. You know, it's not, you know, it's a thing. We should have live streamed that. God.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We should have just, yes, making the cover. Live stream the whole cover design process.
That would have taken up weeks.
Yeah.
Like, how did
There would have been a lot of yelling. No, don't put that there. No. We lost her.
What happened? Why am I?
I think she's back.
I don't know what happened. Maybe I see.
You. Well, so what should we talk about here? Should we talk about how we started this thing? Should we talk about how we didn't wake Emily up, so she's not here? And we.
It was kind of a very spur of the moment thing where I just
it was. I just happened to wake up, and I saw like, we're gonna go live now. I'm like, okay. Yeah, me never miss an opportunity. So I looked in the mirror. I go, okay, it don't look that bad. Yeah. Like I wouldn't show up to teach my class like this, but I figured nobody here in New York is looking.
So how did you two work together on the cover? Like, what was it like designing it between the two of you?
Would you like to go first, Sarah?
Sure. Well, we started by creating mood boards and basically like, what kind of feel do we want this book to have?
Right,
at that point, we already had at least the ground. We had our stories, I think, or at least the idea of our stories. And we had John's story and maybe one or two others. So we knew already the feel that we could get from the book. So we went and looked at other anthologies and other books that kind of resonated with us in this genre. We're like, okay, what do we love here? And then we sketched it, and then we just threw ourselves into it.
You know, you're making it sound a little easier than it was, because I think we had like a different vision for it than the group wanted. Like we went a little more sci-fi, I think. Remember
I can share screen here, actually. Let me set it up, and then I will start share screening.
All right, you really have all the iterations?
I do.
Oh my God, you should
save all of them.
Emily's up.
Yay, Emily!
Wait, let me message. Let me text her. You keep talking.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see if I can share exactly the screen that I want to share. Okay. All right. Okay. We are just seeing my entire screen right now, but we'll move quickly. All right. Can you see?
Yeah.
That was
all
the screen.
So these are some anthologies that we liked.
Yeah, right.
Now, that was our very first mood board. These are all anthologies that we liked. I ended up buying 2 of these because I really wanted to read them.
I swear, I can't even remember that you remember that. I can't even remember this. Like I just can't remember. And I'm not even awake right now, so I really can't remember anything.
And I've never seen this before, so that is so cool for me to see like your movie.
Well, all I could tell you, the process was Sarah going, how about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? And me going, no, don't show them that. No, don't show them anything.
I didn't want to say anything.
I'm going to say
I didn't want to say anything, but yes, that was how it worked. I got pretty frustrated.
Well, I started calling her design puppy because it was like when you throw like a stick and the puppy wants to get the stick no matter where the stick goes. And I had to rein in the leash, and I went, no, because I tend to be, I guess, more of a nitpicker. And
you
Sarah,
are very detail-oriented.
I'm a detail-oriented nitpicker. I am a design teacher. So as I'm looking at everything, all I'm thinking is, if my students see that, I'll never hear the end of it. You know, so that's my...
These were concepts.
This is how I got to be, I know. You know how I got to be a cover designer? The way I got to be a cover designer was when my book got signed in 2011. This is like top secret here. That I don't know if I've ever said this in public. I might have. The publishing company that signed me was pretty new. I looked at the covers that they had out, and I said to my agent, you know, I can't sign with them because I don't like their covers. So unless I could do my own cover, I can't sign with them. And she got them to agree to let me do my own cover. Because I kept thinking, what'll I do? If my students see these covers that they have and my cover looks like that, they'll hound me. You know? So that's how I got to be a cover designer. And then they kept hiring me to do their covers. Yeah, so this is the iterations. And then how did we get into the spacey weird stuff? I started doing a lot of weird stuff.
Yes,
too.
so it started with this one, which I just called White and Gold. It's
Right.
not opening, it's opening now.
But one thing you and I loved, we both agreed right away on that font, the other font.
Yes.
We loved that, and we liked it slanted. And then when we showed it to everybody, nobody liked it.
Yes.
We're all like, we can't read that. What does that say? But we're like, well, we could read it. I still like it.
I do too.
Wait, do you have the one with the spacey swirls and the orange type?
Oh,
the
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
The one that
Actually, I think if I open like this, you guys can still see, right?
Do you want that I ended up spending like $2,000 I didn't realize on?
That's right. Now that's a whole story.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm insanely proud of what I did with the curling of the leaves here. Like, I thought it looked so cool, but then we couldn't fit any author names in it.
Well, you have a tendency to make everything bright and strong, and like nobody knows where to look first. So I'm like, make that there. That's the one I really liked. Yeah. And then I think we added a border to that and the thingy behind it. Do you have any?
There we go. Yes, this is the one we almost completely.
That's the one we really. Wait, go back. That's where I did like the type, and we started to really collaborate. We really liked that one. Nobody else did.
Yeah. So I was like, here, let's have some pop colors. And
I was like, no.
And I'm like, but it's so bright and cheerful.
And I know. And then everybody looks at it and they're like,
we can't read it. We can't read a thing.
Like that.
There, I loved this one too.
Yeah, I kind of like that one too.
Yeah, this is what we were like. We still thought we were going to go with this concept. Look, it's even written final in this one.
Yeah, I know. Go back to the other one with the blue border.
The blue border.
Blue flowers.
That one?
Yeah, I really liked that one a lot.
Me too.
Oh, well. Nobody else
did. So then we tried a few different things to try to convince them otherwise. That like, look, it's still great. And then I just
completely came up with that. And everybody's like, oh, yes.
Intriguing. Sarah.
And then began the back and forth negotiating with us. I'm like, let's try that out of fun. Those are flowers. There's too much. They're too big. We need other things. We need like little guys in there. And it just kept changing and changing and changing and the type. And I don't know, like probably 18, 20 back and forth between us.
Here we finally settled on doing the type again.
But then everybody,
first type.
Right. But then everybody said the border is too strong. So we kept pushing it back. So
here's when I learned how to do embroidery.
Right. But you didn't do it ultimately.
No, it was too noisy.
I loved it though. I loved that embroidery, and you still have to teach me how to do that.
I bought actions.
Okay, so watch how it evolves, people. Watch how it evolves. This is design. It just
and here we're getting there. Oh, here's another attempt at embroidery.
Right. You make these tiny little. I can't believe you have all this. We have to make this into some kind of video.
I did. I made a GIF, but the thing is that since it includes an author who's no longer in the anthology, I want to ask her first before we post anything.
Oh, unless you could just blank it out when we do it. You know, just make like a version of each cover without it.
Well, I could, but you know, there's like 60 covers in here, right?
True.
This was an accident that I really liked. Like, not to actually print it, but I really liked how the accident looked, so I wanted to show you guys.
Oh, interesting. I still like our final.
Oh, me too. I am so proud.
So the point is, what went on here is that there was a lot of, different tendencies that Sarah and I have. Like, I like all these little things and little dingbats in between the type. And Sarah's like, no, there's too many. And Sarah loves graphics and illustration, and she'll just cover the whole surface with them and crowd the type. And I'm like, no, the type is more important. More, get rid of them, make them smaller, make them duller. They're too bright. So
I like bright.
he likes bright. I like bright too, but I'm kind of like a type fiend, and I always feel like type rules, and type is queen, and type must be considered first, and everything else must serve the type. So we had sometimes it got a little contentious because Sarah's opinionated and so am I, but we love each other and respect each other and have different strengths. So, we did try to play off of our strengths, and eventually I gave way on some things, and Sarah learned a lot about type. I
did. I thought I knew about type. I've been designing covers for 6 years, but dang, I learned many things about type.
Is that you're self-taught. So you didn't go to design school, and I'm a design teacher. So, you had like a little miniature experience of how I torture my students every semester.
I probably owe you a ton of money now.
You could see some WhatsApp streams that look exactly like our what we did, with me going, no, how about this? No, how about this? No, how about this? No. Yes. What? Really? Yes.
Alrighty, I'm going to turn this off now. Unless you guys want to see more art stuff.
Well, let's talk about the anthology itself. I mean, I think we talked enough about the cover.
Well, we had been. You missed a little bit of us saying. We told everyone about how it came to be.
Oh, okay.
We talked about our stories and our process and just the love that went into these books. Stories. Oh, Emily's here! Yay, Emily! Hello. Our venerated co-editor.
There she comes. Dun, 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 dun. She's been busy posting graphics. Last night.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning. Happy book birthday.
I'm showing my face. I'm very brave.
Oh, you are showing your face. Okay, I might try to show my face, but if I show my face, you guys have to forgive me because I have no copy and barely comb my hair, which is curly and crazy.
It's okay, Emily.
All right, you ready?
Hey, happy book birthday!
It's happy book birthday.
We just figured nobody in America is watching, so we just let our natural beauty shine through.
Oh, well, there we go. Is that what we're calling it? There we go.
I caked my face in makeup.
Like I said, Sarah, you two are young, so you guys are beautiful. Emily's beautiful too, but you guys
are beautiful.
This is your beauty. I rely upon my mouth and the fact that I look young for my age, but the camera's not nice. It is unkind. It is not friendly. Well, somebody needs to invent the perfect app for making yourself,
We should just start using Instagram and all those other filters just on our Zoom calls.
Like a cat
will be glowing and then randomly have.
Did you see the meme about the cat?
I am not a cat.
No. That was so funny. Oh my God. That poor lawyer. He was such a good sport, though. He was such a
but I'm still trying to figure out if it's real. And then my colleague's like, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I saw that. Is that real?" I said, "Where do we get one of those?" Because I would do that. I would show up at a faculty meeting as some kind of thing. That's not me.
Well, the funniest thing to me is the judge. Did you guys follow the judge? Did you look and see who the judge is and all of that stuff?
No.
That's the best part. The judge, he looks like Robert Downey Jr. and he's absolutely hysterical. And the best thing about him is that he tries to make legalese accessible to everybody.
That's okay, Madeline.
Yeah, so I went and followed him. He made me laugh.
Well, why don't you talk then for a little bit, Madeline, if you have to go. Say something.
I don't know what to say now. You put me right on the spot.
How was your experience working on this with strange individuals?
You missed her telling you all the world how amazing you ladies are. So you need to go back and watch the video. We all love you. We all love each other. We're just so happy to be together.
How hard it is to get a word in between the two of us.
That's true. Yeah, you're lucky you got me when I just rolled out of bed. I have no coffee.
We're really the same
What's my name again?
Look at us.
Yeah.
We're the same person, just a couple of years apart. I was 17 when she was born. I could have been her babysitter. So it's like I gave birth, like my clone was born.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a little bit crazy. It is very crazy. It's also crazy that like we met through Pitch Wars, but we didn't really know each other when we were doing Pitch Wars.
Yeah, but you know, I could recount how we all met if anybody wants to do that, because I this is the thing I do remember.
Oh yeah, do that.
And yeah, number 5 is not here. Heidi and I have known each other for 16 years online, and we have met in person twice. Heidi and I were in this group that was first called the Word Slingers. Like I had 2 critique groups that I got, like it was before Facebook. It was from Yahoo. It was a Yahoo group, and it had all these writers in it. They wrote picture books. They wrote all kinds of things, and there were 2 groups, and we came together and formed the CUDA. So that's how I know Heidi. And
yeah,
then
which
one
is so crazy. It's so weird that you guys have
all
known
the
each other
people
for so
in that
long.
group. So many of them got published, and some of them are kind of famous. And one of them is Danielle Clayton. She was in that group with us.
Mm.
So was Kate Milford, who's also kind of famous. So Lindsay Eland, who's had a lot of books out, and Heidi's had a lot of books out, and I forget who else was in there. But we had.
So wait, how did that group originally come together? Because I'm always so fascinated. Like when I started writing,
it was
this is a weird thing. Wait, I just want to say this thing first. It just occurred to me. Like this is a weird thing, and maybe like useful to other people. When I started writing, I did not have any writing community whatsoever, because I didn't like go kind of like a way that a lot of people go, where they go to school for writing, so they like meet a bunch of people who are interested in writing there. And I had been like part of a small publishing company first, so I came at it from a publishing angle. So I just didn't have any kind of organic writing community. And then when The Memory Thief was published, which is my first book, I still didn't have any kind of organic writing community. So I remember feeling like I did it all backwards. Like that, like aren't you supposed to like make the writing buddies first and then do the thing? So I'm always so fascinated to see like how people form supportive writing communities, because I have one now, but it took me like years to find one, and I was always like surreptitiously try to like secretly figure out how people had one so I could get one too.
Well, I stumbled backwards into writing. I didn't start writing until I was like your age, Ms. Emily. Which meant
it's so crazy.
I was like, I was 45 years old or maybe 43 when I was already a professor. I had a 9-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old, 13 or 14? I don't know, 13-year-old son. And my life was crazy. And, I was a full-time professor, and I decided I need to get a grant. So I'm going to write a children's book, because I'm an artist. I'm an illustrator first. I'm not a writer. I was never trained as a writer. I was trained as an artist, and I teach design. So I said, I'm going to write a children's book, like a picture book. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just popping away now. But
all right. Anyway, you gotta go. Bye, Maddie.
So
Love you. Happy book birthday.
Yeah.
We are on social media throughout the day, I guess, here and there.
And I just posted on Twitter, and Lisa and I created a fun graphic last night, and it's like a fun little post about the book with like some little what's about on Twitter.
We're in different timelines, so weird stuff goes on in the middle of the night for us with you guys, and then when you guys are sleeping, we're up to no good at like 11, 12 at night, like doing weird stuff.
You're too amazing. Seriously, this is fantastic.
Beautiful. We threw together the graphic last night at like, what was it, 11 p.m., 11:30?
Yeah, I had like put together the tweet, and then I had the idea for the graphic, and like it just bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye, Maddie. It just wasn't right, my graphic. I was like, okay, Lisa, this is my concept. Can you please make it pretty? And she did.
And then after that, my husband made cake.
Oh, you lucky.
He made cake. Oh.
Yeah, I sat down to eat the cake at 12:15 a.m., which was probably so bad for my thighs and stomach.
Yeah, but that's so sweet.
How was it for your heart?
Forward to it. It was the Valentine's cake. Anyway, so really I'm going to try to like not tell the story forever about the writing community.
You tell the story while I look for the bottom part of my charger, which I can't find, and I don't know why. Oh, there it is.
I just, I had secretly and quietly started writing a book that was supposed to be a children's illustrated picture book. I knew nothing about children's books. I knew nothing about writing. I knew nothing about the marketplace. I knew nothing. I just had this ridiculous story that I just kept writing. And the only person who knew I was writing was my best friend, Joanne, my cousin, Mark, and my kid, Bex, who was Rebecca back then. And I used to read the story every night to Bex now. And well, of course, my husband knew I was writing it. But my other best friend did not know and said, "What's wrong with you lately?" I've been writing. I was so embarrassed. So finally, I let people read it, and I realized it was god awful. It was so bad. And the thing is that my people who were reading it had no idea, because that's why you don't have your friends and relatives be your writing community, because they just think, oh, you could put words together. How nice. So what I did was I Googled writing group. That's what I did.
That's amazing.
Online critique group. And I found this online critique group that was already on the Children's Book Society, whatever, Society of Illustrators, book writers, children's book, SBWI. I found this group, this online critique group, and it operated through Yahoo Groups, and it was run by this woman, Trish, and it was like 11 or 12 women in there. And Trish and I didn't like that this group was too slow. Like, they were really slow, and we were like writing frenetically, and we wanted feedback. So we formed this other group called the Word Slingers, where it was smaller, and we were really picky about the people that we brought in there. And that was Heidi and I think Danielle, and I forget, and Kate, whatever. We just had these people that were more proactive.
Did they
right?
come from that larger group, or where did you find those
Well,
people?
we had like all these different people. Trish and I were in these two groups. Like, there was one was 12 and one was 6. And eventually those two groups started to whittle down. So what we did was we mashed them together. Like, Lindsay Eland was in the first group. I don't even know what it was called, with Trish. And then
Hang on one second. Sarah, is that look on your face because you saw the IG post?
I did. You caught me. I wanted to show, but I didn't want to interrupt the story.
What?
Well, our lovely Paper Fury has posted this gorgeous, hold on, I just put the tags up. Gorgeous photo of Unbound.
God.
It's so pretty. Emily, I can't believe you managed to tell just by looking at my face.
I saw the notification like pop up on my phone, but I had to be able to look at it. And I was like, oh my God, I hope Sarah can see it.
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt because I love how you seem to be. Isn't this amazing? Oh, I love her.
Unbelievable. Anyway, I should probably speed this story up. It's too long. Anyway, so those two groups that were kind of, one was really super powerful and really hardcore. And I swear they taught me how to write. Heidi taught me how to write. Like, Heidi used to harangue me. I was awful. And Heidi taught me how to write, really. And then we came together as this bigger group we called the Cudas. It was actually called the Barracudas, because we felt that, this was probably in 2006, we felt that we just wanted the people who could keep up our pace, which was very frenetic. Like, we were just on there all the time, and we were posting stuff for critique all the time, like every 2 weeks. And we basically just kept the most proactive people from the both groups, and we limited the size. And I think we ended up being maybe 10 or 11, and we stuck together for quite a long time. We went well into maybe 2010.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh, beautiful. So
I
don't think I could have done anything if not for that group. And people like Heidi and Kate and Danielle and Trish and Cynthia, and all these people out there, Lindsay, we taught each other how to write. Some were better than others. I mean, like, Heidi already knew how to write, so she taught me how to write. Anyway, that was my first critique group, and it never really made it to Facebook. Facebook came along in 2008. The group was already still kicking, and eventually, I guess, we tried it on Facebook. It didn't work, and then everybody started to get published. Not me. I was much later. But as they got published, they got very busy, and it just started to kind of fall to, just kind of fell away. And we all found other communities and other spaces. And so Madeline, I had this tendency to create these different groups. And I created this group called the YA Story Sisters, from all these different people that I picked up along the way. And I have no idea how Madeline found that group or ended up in that group, but that was 2014. So I met Heidi in person and online in 2006 or 5 or something. And we met in person when she came to New York like twice. I met her kids, I met her husband, you know, we sat there and talked and such in person live. And then Madeline was the YA Story Sisters. There was a lot of us there. And so I got to know her a bit then. And then, I don't know, that group disintegrated. And then a couple of years later, Madeline and I would just kind of pop in. Can you critique this for me? Or can you tell me this? You know, we would just kind of sort of pop in on each other and ask each other questions. And then Madeline had this group, her workshop group, right? This was in 2018. She had a sci-fi workshop group where she had.
Hang on one second. I'm turning off my camera, but I'm still here because I have to start walking around my house and doing stuff. But I will still be here. Okay, camera going, but it's still here.
So Madeline had this sci-fi workshop group, and she paired me up with this amazing person, Sarah Anderson. And it was like, oh my God, this is like, I love this person. I love her writing. I love her. I am having this moment of like joy, of like the most exquisite writing experience and bonding thing, right? Like
it was just magical. Like
it was
clicked immediately.
You know, it was amazing. It was really like I hadn't really experienced that before. But at the same time, I had this other, you know, I had been in pitch wars, and so had Emily, right? So we were both pitch wars mentors. We did not know each other there. But I decided I needed a mentor. Like I was really struggling like crazy in 2018. I was ready to say, forget it, I'm done. I hate life. I hate writing. I hate law. And so I decided, you know, I need a mentor. I have this terrible book that I don't know what to do with, and I need somebody to hold my hand and help me fix it. And so a lot of people, it turned out, were feeling that way. So we put together a fairly large group of people that were going to mentor each other. And I needed help. I wanted people to help me run it. And one of the people that volunteered for that was Emily, who just kind of joined up from the Pitch Wars mentor group. So she got in there, right? I had no idea what Emily wrote. I just knew, wow, this woman is really together, and she's really like organized, and she's like helpful. Like you would say, well, okay, I'm gonna do this and this and this. You just started to like do all this stuff like you do, you know, like really organizing things and making sure things happen. I'm like, yeah, she's really cool. And then I think when we were trying to get like the workshop groups going together in the daisy chain thing, that was really a whole mess. You know, it wasn't going very well. We started reading each other's stuff, right? And I was like, wait a minute, you write YA? I thought you just wrote grown-up stuff. And then I started reading her stuff and figuring out what she was up to. I go, hey, I like you too. And then I thought, you know, you should meet Sarah. So then the three of us, right? That's how it began. Like I just
we had Caitlin, if you recall. At that point,
right. There was another person in there. Right. There was a fourth person, Caitlin. I tend to forget because she wasn't around that long.
No.
She couldn't keep up with the three of us. When the three of us found each other, it was like some kind of explosion occurred. Right?
And then we just needed to get Maddie back on track, back along, because she was the reason behind all of us meeting.
Right,
and we're like,
it took a while.
What's she doing not in this group? We need her back here.
I can't remember who joined next. Was it Heidi or Maddie?
I don't remember. I think Heidi was. I think it was Heidi, and then it was Matt. I think it might have been Maddie last.
Yes,
because
I just like why is not in here?
Because we all knew her, and you said, "Hey,
except for me, I didn't know her.
Well, that's right. You didn't know her yet.
Wait, only you and I knew Maddie. I don't think Heidi knew her. You and I knew her, and you knew her really well, and I knew her for like forever. You know, like I mean, at this point, it's already like 7 years that I know her. And
I met her before I was even writing. I was a reviewer at the time.
Oh my God!
You sent me Untamed back with the old cover.
Oh crap! Wow. So anyway,
so where were you? Wait, now I'm so curious. I'm so curious, Sarah. Where were you reviewing when you met Maddie?
Wait,
Okay,
you were
so-
reviewing before you started writing? You
Oh
need
my God. Okay, so I've
to,
always
you
been
have to tell your story now.
Okay, well, I've been writing since I was a tiny kid. Like I couldn't even hold a pen, and I would dictate terrible stories to my parents, and they'd write it down. I've got one here, which I'm too embarrassed to read because I didn't understand anything about the
Well,
process.
your dad used to tell you stories in the woods, so it's only natural.
He would. My
Right?
dad is just the best storyteller. We would go hiking every weekend, and Emily and I, my sister, not this Emily, we were just so done with it. We didn't want to spend our weekends hiking, so Dad would tell us stories, but only when we were walking. And he came up with them on the spot. They were complex. They had like cameos from other stories. He'd bring back characters. They were
That's how Harry Potter started, right?
yeah, and I just like I've always been telling stories because I thought it was a normal thing that people do. Like, oh, you're bored, just tell each other stories.
I mean,
And
people
so-
tell stories, but they tend to be things that actually happen. And
Yeah.
you make them
Let's just invent the history of this place because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. Like we would go explore these places, and my parents and whatever friends were along would like completely invent the backstory of the place we were exploring. It was great.
You need to write something about that.
I should. My mom should write down her crazy stories. I mean, all of them do. Mom has been working on some book stuff. Hi, Mom, if you're watching. Yeah, so I always knew that I loved storytelling, but I didn't know I could write because it just felt like such an unachievable goal. Like when you're a kid and you look at authors, you're like, they're
Right.
so successful, they're so managed,
Right.
they're authors,
So
right?
many words, so many words.
And my teachers, all my English teachers growing up said I should go into writing. Like my actual high school English teacher was like, if you don't get into Oxford for writing, like I will haunt you as a ghost.
Oxford.
And I was like, but I want to go to space. And he's like,
You must have been a very good student.
I really liked school. Like I'm one of those kids who was just totally into it.
You're like a sponge. I mean, your brain is like
I
vast.
want to learn.
Your brain is vast. I have this theory of anybody who's good in the things that you're good at has to be like some kind of unusual genius.
I'm possibly unusual, but not a
You
genius.
are unusual in that you are artistic visually, and you're also scientific, and you kind of, I guess you're good in math too, right?
I wouldn't say good, but I guess because I'm also working with mathematicians who are way better than me, I'm very skewered on my view.
You're adequate. Like,
I can do the math.
okay, well, you're better than me, and I'll let Emily speak for herself on the math question.
No,
Right.
I'm not with the math. I love science and I can science, but I cannot math.
Right. I loved science too as a kid. I was like, I loved biology. I used to just like, my parents used to buy me frogs to dissect. I'd be in the backyard.
Oh, so
I
sad.
used to love
I'm
science.
sad for you and the frog.
No, I was a weird kid. I mean, which, you know, is pretty obvious.
I'm
a weird
shocked.
grown-up.
So
I'm
shocked.
shocked that I was a weird.
Math was
So
always my
sad.
best subject just because, you know, I was growing up as an American in France and my parents couldn't help me with homework, but math was something that made sense no matter what language you talked about it in.
Wow.
You might have had different
That makes
methods for
sense.
dividing stuff, but it was still the same. So
Wild.
it's
I just-
international.
Math and I just didn't like each other from the start. I still have traumatic memories of trying to do long division when I was in third grade. And, you know, my mother was like you, Emily, my mother was this person who was really good with writing and history and humanities and hated math. So
Yeah,
she
my
could
mom
help
too.
me on any
My mom
other thing, but she couldn't help me with the math. And I don't think my dad had the patience or if he was that good. I mean, he was probably better than her. But I was very good in all the other subjects. So being a very impatient person, I just didn't care. You know, I'm like, ugh, who has time for that? You know, that's hard because I was good in the other stuff. So, you know, I didn't want to like bother with the math. But now I do have a good math story though. I don't know if it's interesting. Anyway, tell us more about you, Sarah.
All right. So after I finished high school, I was planning on going to University of Glasgow to do physics and astrophysics, but then I went into this whole visa nonsense where because I wasn't European, I would have to pay full rates, which was 10 times the cost, and I couldn't afford it. So I went on that.
You were like a resident in France.
I've been but I wasn't born here, so I couldn't
So
get.
you're not a French citizen?
I'm not a French citizen. I took a gap year to apply, and it didn't work out because at the time I was unemployed. So they thought I was just trying to mooch off of the French government, which makes sense. I can totally understand them refusing for that reason. I mean, I had nothing to show for myself at that point, except that I was a good student, but I wasn't doing anything. So what I did was I packed up and moved to Washington, D.C. to work in the Air and Space Museum.
Oh man, I didn't know you did.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I was an explainer. I had the cute little red polo shirt. And
explaining. You're a professional explainer.
I am.
Oh my God, you'd be the best at that.
I was 18 and
how cute.
yeah, I started by living with a host family, but they were too far out of town, so I moved right into the heart of the city. I was literally 1 block away from the Air and Space Museum. I lived on a woman's couch for 8 months, and it was more expensive than my apartment in Marseille. I'm not kidding. That's how expensive DC is. It's ridiculous. And while I was there, well, I needed to make money because in order to, you can only work part-time as an explainer. You can't work, it's not a full-time job. They can't pay for benefits for all those high schoolers and university students. So I had to find another job. And so I decided I would do design work because that's something I taught myself to do when I was in high school just for fun. And I was like, I can do book covers. I kind of fell into it because I don't even know exactly which came first, but I ended up going to BookCon to meet one of my best friends. So we decided that this would be the great place for us.
What year was that, Sarah?
What?
What year was that?
2014. So I graduated 2013.
You were in BookCon at the Javits Center?
Yes.
I was there too.
No way.
What? Oh, that's so crazy.
We could have met.
It was kind of big. I was there. I was there because I was with the publishing house that was still intact. And I believe that was the year my second book came out, and we were walking around dressed up as characters from Star Wars. We had a blast there. We were so
I have a photo of you. I need to go through my photos of
Yoda Schwartz.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. Okay.
I'm kind of freaking out right now. I wonder if I have a random photo of you somewhere in my pictures.
Oh no, I think I'm not. Darth Vader.
You did.
I'll look through them later. We could look through them now, but that'd be weird. But anyway, I discovered.
So in the BookCon section though, we were like, well, that was at Comic-Con actually, but we were in BookCon too.
Okay. Well, so I had this. I still remember this clear as day. I was waiting for John Green's talk, right? Because he was there.
Yes.
And I'm sitting in line because I knew that everyone would want to be there, so I had to get there early. And a woman shows up behind me with her daughter. And they put down 2 massive shopping bags worth of books. And I'm like, wow, did you bring them all to get signed? And she's like, no, these are all ARCs. I'm like, ARCs? And she's like,
you don't know what an ARC is.
Free. And I'm just like,
free.
What?
Free books.
So these 2, while waiting in line, these 2 women introduced me to the world of book reviewing. And that's the moment I became a bookstagrammer.
Wow.
And so I was so excited. So I go online. I'm like, everybody send me your books. I will review them for free. And I ended up reviewing this book.
On the couch in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, while I was in D.C., yeah.
On the couch.
On the couch.
In the Science Museum explaining stuff.
Yep.
Everything that you are started there.
Yeah.
From that couch.
It did. From that one $300 a month couch.
Science. Explaining.
Yeah. And so I'm sitting there and I read this book that is so good. It was Grave Beginnings by R.R. Verde. And I'm just like, this is one of the best books I've ever read. It is so engaging, so fun, but the cover sucks.
Wow.
So I offered to do his cover for free.
Oh, man.
I was like, I want your book. I want everyone to read your book. And I want to learn how to do book covers. So can we work together? And he's like, yes.
Was it an indie published book?
Self-published entirely.
Right. Okay.
And he has gone on to be nominated twice for the Dragon Awards. He is now friends with massive authors, endorsed by Jim Butcher himself as a great.
Do his covers?
I did his covers, and I still do.
Well, let's see the covers.
Oh, I don't have them on my computer.
He pays you now, I hope.
Yeah. So in any case,
amazing, Sarah, all these things I'm learning about you that I never even bothered to find out.
I guess I just really didn't talk about all the weird things that lead up to all the cool things that happen. Everything seems to happen for a reason, and I just didn't realize what an evolution it was because you're young, so I figured you just always did this stuff. I didn't realize there was a big story there too. No. I designed his cover, and it went so well that he recommended me to all of his friends, and started a business while reading and reviewing books. Maddie's book being one of those books that I reviewed, and I loved it so much that I'm just like, hey, can we be best friends?
Oh, so that's how you got to be friends, from
Yeah.
reading her book. That's so wild.
You go back on my Instagram far enough and you'll see her book and her first cover.
Oh, damn, I wish I knew you then. I would have had to
That's so crazy.
It was, yeah. I mean, I still can't believe we met just because I loved her book so much. I was like, can we be friends? You're cool.
Oh, want to be friends? Awk.
Yeah.
Awk. Yeah.
Want to be friends?
But you know, that's like the best. It's the best way.
That, Emily? They became
What?
friends. Want to be friends. That's how they
Yes.
became friends.
Yes.
Want to be
See?
friends.
Want to be friends? Awk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, Sarah. I had no idea. I think it's so funny because we all just sort of met when we were already writing, kind of already in this little world in our lives. So
Right.
we haven't like done a lot of delving backwards into like how we
Right.
came to this point. But I think it's kind of interesting to do that because like maybe at some point when it's like I don't know, like pre-planned and we're like more organized in our brains, it would be, since we're all at different point, we're different ages. Like there's two of us in the group in our 40s, two of us in our 20s, and there's Lisa's older. So I think it's really interesting because we each came, but she's like I don't know, maybe you're 7 really secretly. It's like we
7.
all, yeah, you're 7. So, but I think it's neat because it's like it sort of.
But your writing
overrides
career is probably older than mine, even though your actual writing career is probably older than my writing career, because I did not start writing until I was literally your age now.
Let me think. My first book was published in 2012. So Lucas at that point was 7.
That was 9 years ago.
2005.
So
9
that's
years ago.
Yeah, well, you started writing before that.
Well, I mean, mine is all backwards. Like I started writing when I was really super young, and in fact, like my very first thing, like I remember, like I wrote this story when I was 6. I still have it somewhere. It was about Bloody Monster, because I couldn't spell bloody, so it had like 2 D's, and it had like a big picture of a scribbled monster, and I colored him in red because I couldn't really draw a monster. And he was, his name was, the story was Bloody Monster, the brave monster who killed the world, which is very disturbing.
Sounds like it's Scottish. Bloody Monster.
Yeah. Bloody Monster, the brave monster killed the world. I think if I had been like my parents and I saw Bloody Monster, the brave monster killed the world, I'd be like, okay, that one's got problems. We need a different one. I want to return this one for
Counselor in therapy now. What's that?
I know.
That's my first book.
You know, I just thought of something really funny, because I think there's a thread here that we share. We all wrote and told stories when we were kids. I did too. Yeah. True confession. I used to like what I'm old, as I said, and Batman, the original Batman, was like a big thing then. You know, like da 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 Batman. And I was obsessed with Batman. I was also, I had a crush on Robin, but I was obsessed with the show. And I used to go and watch it, and then I would go and corner my mother and retell the entire thing, right? And I used to make up all these comics and stuff. I was always making up stories, and my cousin and I used to play actions. So it was always there, you know? It was always there as a kid, always. So I think that's the interesting thing.
It is interesting.
Like most people don't wake up one day when they're a kid and go, I'm going to watch a novel. It's very daunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I couldn't have even imagined. Even when I started writing, I was like, I'm going to write a little picture book. I could novel.
Yeah.
You can do that.
Yeah, no, my story is like totally backwards from that, where like I always wrote, and like the floor of my bedroom was like papered with like handwritten novels that I was writing. And like my grandmother, she used to like stand in the door of my room and be like, are you coming or are you going? Because there was so much paper. Like, are you moving in? Are you moving out? And I always wrote. And then when I got to college, like I decided I wasn't going to study writing because I wanted to study something that I hadn't spent a lot of time doing or learning about. And I think that was a mistake. Like it somehow just didn't seem to me that was what, like looking back, I wish that I had
too easy, right?
Thoroughly,
it was too easy.
It felt like, not because writing is easy. It didn't feel too easy because writing was easy. It felt too easy as if like it was like the path of something that came too naturally to me, and I should
you gotta
push
do
myself and
something.
challenge myself. Yeah, by doing something different. But I took this one writing class in college. It was this writing seminar. And because I have always written popular fiction, and I went to a high school where like writing popular fiction wasn't like laughed at, it was just embraced. Like good writing is good writing. It doesn't matter if it is like on the supermarket shelf as a mass market paperback, or if it's wanted in the New York Times, or like good writing is good writing, bad writing is bad writing. We analyzed writing on its own merits, and that was the education that I had. And then when I got to college, I didn't realize that, there's a very, very different attitude towards writing inside the ivory tower. And genre fiction is kind of shunned, and popular fiction is shunned. And I just didn't know that. I was very naive in that way because that had not been my high school experience, fortunately. And so when I took one writing seminar in college, and we all went around and we shared our favorite books. And at the time, we were supposed to say our 3 favorite authors, and I don't know who else I said, but I did say, I will never forget this, I did say Anne Rice. And when I said Anne Rice, the whole room fell silent. The professor glared at me, and he said, "Oh, really?" And the whole rest of the semester, anytime he wanted to mock anybody for bad writing,
Anne Rice. Oh my God, Anne Rice. Oh, she was such an inspiration to me.
She's amazing. But in this little ivory tower world, this fancy college, in this seminar, it was
college? Duke, right?
I went to Duke. Yeah, I went to Duke. So this was an upper level writing seminar at Duke, and the professor. I will say that I went to high school at Stuyvesant High School, which is a very good high school in New York City, and I got a really solid education there. So I wasn't coming from a podunk high school where I didn't have faith in what they were telling me, but still, when he made fun of me all semester, every time anybody wrote anything that he thought was the least bit melodramatic, the least bit over the top, he'd be like, "I don't know. What do you think, Anne Rice?" And then he would turn and he would glare at me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
We should go find them now.
Yeah, I don't want to go find them.
That's just malpractice.
Well, there's a good story behind this, you guys. I'll tell you the story because it'll inspire other writers. So I became completely and totally discouraged by the end of that semester, but I was determined that he was not going to make me quit. I was not going to quit the class because of this guy. But by the end of it, I was like, I am obviously not meant to write. He had all semester long for months and months and months. All he did in this tiny room was mock me. And so then I was like, you know what? I must not be meant to write. Maybe I could help other people with their writing, but I obviously don't have what it takes. So when I graduated, there was a tenured Duke professor who wrote romance novels. And she was very embarrassed about the fact that she wrote romance novels, not unto herself, but much like me getting mocked in this class, she felt like she couldn't really admit that she really wrote these novels to her colleagues because they would look down upon it. And so she quite literally had some covers with Fabio on them, and I can't believe it's not butter, dude, and all this stuff. And so she was determined that she was going to start her own publishing company, and it was going to she was going to use it first to release her own novels in a classier way because they weren't, she thought that they were being unfairly represented. And she also wanted to publish other people's books. And so that was, I had at that point interned at magazines and small publishing houses. And so when she just needed someone to help and she couldn't pay a lot, she hired me. And that was really great because that was my first introduction to working for a small publishing company. She paid for me to take all these business classes. I learned all the basics, and
she was a professor at Duke too.
She probably still is. She was a tenured English professor at Duke, a wonderful woman. Mm-hmm. And this was her side business that she started at first because she didn't want to be stigmatized for publishing her own romance novels. And then it expanded to other people. So I did that for a little while, and through that got a job where I moved to where I am now. And that was helping another guy start his small publishing company who was one of her investors. And so I had done that for a while, and then I was like, I thought about going back and getting my MFA, but I never did. And I started working for a youth arts program, and I was sitting at a teacher meeting at the youth arts program, working with the teaching artist, and the teaching artist, if you ever tried to corral a bunch of teaching artists, it's like herding a bunch of kittens. You really just can't. And so so one of them turned to me and she was like, "I'm so sorry about this." She was like, "As an arts administrator, this must be so frustrating for you to have us be so disorganized." And I realized in that moment that like none of the people sitting around that table had known me as a creative writer, and none of the people sitting around that table had known me as a musician, which is what I had been for my whole life leading up to that
She never
point.
talked about.
Wait,
that
you were a
she's
musician?
she's a musician.
For
This is
many-
one secret.
Yes, very, very,
Thing you
very
don't know
intensely for
about
many years.
Emily.
Yeah.
How am I learning so much about both of you today?
Wait, what
know,
about
how
me,
does-
Jaren? I thought you knew everything about me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you said that. But yeah, so I was like, this is a time, like this is like the do or die time. I'm gonna actually write a book. I'm gonna take a year and write and see if I can actually do this. And I took a year. Well, I built up my freelance writing career, so I was able to step away. And then I took a year and I wrote.
What
the
year
book
was this,
that-
Emily? Was this like 10 years ago, 11 years ago?
This was Lucas was 3, so it was 2008 to 2009 when I did this. And I built up my freelance writing career, and I was able and lucky to build it up enough so that I could support myself on that while I worked on this. And Lucas was 3, so he was like in preschool 3 days a week. And so I just kind of like busted out this book, and with some help from Caroline Levitt, who was amazing. I ultimately like got it prettied up, and I found an agent, and it got published, right? And so
the book got sold in what year? 2009 or 2010?
it pubbed in The Memory Thief. It pubbed in September 2012. And so subsequent to that, I had gotten this residency to be a writer residence at this amazing place called Wild Acres. And I was up there, and I happened to be up there during this. What? Did you say snowing?
Snowing.
Well, it's
About
no, my phone says it's snowing, but my window says otherwise.
Yeah, it's not snowing.
My
So
phone
this is
says
the full circle.
snowing
Yeah,
now.
this is the full circle part of the story with the professor, which is my favorite part. So at this point, like I was up in at this wonderful retreat called Wild Acres, and I was a writer in residence. So I was staying in this creepy little cottage on the grounds of this amazing place.
Wait, where is that Wild Acre? Where
It's
is that?
in Spruce, just outside of Spruce Pine, North Carolina, a tiny little town
Carolina?
in the north.
There, it sounds really cool.
Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing, and
A
I've been a writer.
writer's colony?
No, well, okay. So what Wild Acres is it was established by, I believe, the Blumenthal family, and it is a multi-purpose retreat center for all different disciplines, like
So when are
science
we
groups.
to go there? We need to go
Yeah,
there after
we can
pandemic.
go there. Yeah, we could. So anyway, so I was up there. I was up there being a writer in residence, and I was up there simultaneously with a group called The Gathering, not to be confused with Magic the Gathering. And The Gathering is this incredible group that used to come together twice yearly. Artists of all different disciplines, everyone from quilt makers to people who paint Russian nesting eggs to printmakers, writers, poets, filmmakers. They happen to be up there at the same time as me.
Wild.
And so we all, there's a communal, in fact, I put Wild Acres in The Memory Thief, which is kind of funny. Anyway, I happened to be up there, and I had a lot of the people who would come to the gathering were older and retired just because they had time to take off work to do that. So when yeah, it's very cool.
You gotta go.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I gotta go. I'm really sorry. I wanted to hear this whole story, but I have a meeting right now at 2:30. So
all right,
I'm
you should
sorry.
Maybe we should just wrap this up, and we'll continue
Yeah,
this
let's wrap it
story. Yeah, we'll continue
Next
this
time.
because we probably have things we should be doing, Sarah.
Yes, we all do.
I mean,
We all
Emily.
do.
I mean, Sarah. Emily.
We all do.
Whoever
Bye,
we
guys.
But we have
yeah.
a book to celebrate.
Yay, boys.
We'll see you back at 2.
Yeah,
I'll see you around.
Yeah,
Love you
I have to
all.
go on Instagram and spread stuff. Lisa, go look on Instagram.
Okay,
Go
okay,
look
I
at
will. I had coffee, but I'm not showered.
Love you.
Okay, love you.
How do we end this thing? I don't even know how. How do I get off of here?
There's a leave on the bottom.
Leave
Just click
studio.
leave.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
leave.
bye.
Bye-bye.